Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Buffalo SportsCenter. An episode, I sound like this is another one of those soap opera docu-series on Netflix, limited run, starring Don and Cal here on BSC on YouTube. Anyways, I am Don, this is Cal. Cal, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Interesting time of the year, obviously approaching the trade deadline in the NHL. The Sabres, I think they got to make a few moves. What about you?
They absolutely do. Not to overreact after that Toronto loss, or even after the Calgary loss, or the Carolina loss. But right now, the Sabres are in a bit of a rut. Their only wins have come against the struggling Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks. So the Sabres, they have some work to do, especially on defense, which is why today we are going to talk about some more Sabres rumors. Yes, because I love just watching what insiders say, like Frank Saravalli and Elliot Friedman and Darren Drager and Kevyn Adams. He's been on a couple of podcasts, but Cal, do you agree with me? I think we both agree that defenseman is definitely a priority for this team.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the main issue with the Sabres is that Lyubushkin-Bryson pairing. That pairing has not been good all season long, and it continues to kill them, leaving their not so great goalies hung out to dry. If you had a decent goalie back there, it'd be one thing. But with guys like UPL who, they don't have a lot of experience, Comrie, who hasn't been that great, and Craig Anderson, who quite frankly is the best goalie on the team, but just isn't quick enough anymore. You cannot be leaving your goalies out to dry. So that defensive pairing of Bryson and Lyubushkin has been so poor this season. They definitely got to add someone.
Yeah, they really do, and it's been a mighty struggle all season to stop goals from going in, but you're right, that third pairing is absolutely brutal. And I think Kevyn Adams understands that too, general manager for the Sabres, which is why you may not see the biggest player being brought in, the most exciting name, but we have to consider it because even as recent as Monday, the Sabres are still in the Timo Meier sweepstakes. It sounds like the top two teams, though, are Carolina and New Jersey, but I believe that Buffalo are somewhere, they're hovering around. Kevyn Adams is like, well, I'm going to wait for these teams to make a sizable offer just to see what the market is for him.
Yeah, they've definitely been in the mix. Regardless of what anyone says, Kevyn Adams has definitely checked in quite a few times on Timo Meier. Now, is it going to happen? Most likely not. There are other teams, like you said, that are involved, and all of a sudden, St. Louis seems like a team that may be a perfect fit. They just trade Ryan O'Reilly away. They might have, enough cap space and, the need to get a new superstar on their team. With that being said, Buffalo is still very much in the mix, and if you're not going to fix your defense or goaltending, how about we score more goals, right? We're having a crazy season this year scoring goals. What if we bring in a guy like Timo Meier? I mean, then we'll be scoring, 4, 5, 6 goals a night. It would be, it really wouldn't be that risky of a move, in my opinion, because we know Timo Meier is an established NHL player and we know what he is capable of. There's no risk involved, even if you got to give up a bulk of your prospects.
Yeah, and when you look at it, think about it. If you want to be aggressive, sure, become the next Tim Murray and go out and get a bunch of big names on the trade market. And I know that Kevyn Adams is very reluctant against that, but it's not often that you have a player like Timo Meier come onto the market for probably a decent price at first and probably a grade A prospect. The Sabres have a lot of grade A prospects, and I'm not saying they're not worth much, because they are. They really are. A lot of these players like Noah Ostlund, Isak Rosen, Jurek Kulik, Matt Savoy, they're all very good, but at some point, you're going to have to swing for the fences. We haven't seen Kevyn Adams make a big acquisition trade. We've seen him trade away a bunch of guys like Sam Reinhart, Ristolainen, Jack Eichel. All of those trades were W, by the way. But I like to see him try to bring someone in and see how a trade like that would do for this team.
Yeah, the time is definitely now. Enough waiting around. I'm part of that group that I think has become the majority here, where why would you rely on a guy that, could be 50-50 in the future, could be a star, could be an absolute bust? Why would you rely on them when you could trade a few of those guys away to get a guy that you already know is established and can help the team now? This team is playing, at such, a high level right now that we didn't even expect. If you could get them just a little bit of help and push them into that playoff window, you never know what can happen. And I think, just getting back to the playoffs for the city of Buffalo and the organization as a whole would mean the world.
you have to reward this team for sticking around. And another way you can do that is by acquiring a defenseman, namely the top defenseman on the market right now, Jakob Chychrun of the Arizona Coyotes. We mentioned him a little while ago in the first trade rumors video that we did, and while I think this Chychrun is much, much less likely to come to Buffalo, he still should be brought up in the same breath as this team.
Yeah, Jacob Chychrun. I mean, let's start off by saying this. Kevyn Adams promised us that Owen Power is going to have a reliable long-term partner. He's yet to have that. Right now, it's Henry Jokiharju, which Jokiharju really should be in the bottom two of our defensive core. So you got to bring someone in. And we talked about Chychrun last year. This season, it still makes sense, right? This guy you can sign long-term. That could really be your top four defensive core. It really just makes sense. Now, the asking price for Chychrun right now is either a first-round pick and a top prospect that would probably be Matt Savoy, Yuri Kulik, maybe a guy like Isak Rosen. That could happen. Or a first-round pick and probably another first-round pick that's protected, and then maybe a lower pick. So if I'm the Sabres, I'm definitely pulling the trigger on that. If you could do a first-round pick and Isak Rosen or someone of that level, if they want a guy like Savoy, I'm very hesitant on that. I wouldn't trade away Yuri Kulik or Peterka or Quinn just because they are showing some signs of promise. But again, you got to make some risky moves to get the reward, and Chychrun's definitely worth the struggle there. The only issue with him is he is a little bit injury prone.
Yeah, he can be a little injury prone, but give us that top four defenseman. Chychrun would absolutely seal this team. He would absolutely improve them. I don't see why not. Kevyn Adams, be aggressive. Reward this team. Get them that top four defenseman, because I can guarantee you the goalies will feel better having another top man on that defensive core, because right now the Sabres are rolling out to games with a three-man D core. That's not good enough if you're a playoff team. Jokiharju, Lyubushkin, and Bryson have been brutal, and while Jokiharju has improved this year, he still should be on the bottom pairing. There is no reason for him to be trying to kill Owen Power every shift. So get a bona fide top guy like Chychrun, move Jokiharju down with Jacob Bryson or Cal Clegg, and call that your D-core. I would feel so much better about the Sabres' playoff chances by just adding Chychrun.
Yeah, that's the power that only one player can have on this team. You boot either Lyubushkin or Bryson out of the lineup, move Jokiharju to that bottom pair, which he should be, and he is a fifth to sixth level NHL defender. But on that second D line, he just isn't getting it done right now, especially with Owen Power, who has shown a lot of promise this season. He looks very good on the ice, and he definitely needs a partner that he can rely on to get the best of his game.
Yeah, he will, and I think they could do something like that. Now then, an alternative to him that I'll briefly mention is defenseman from the Vancouver Canucks, Luke Schenn, but he's really more of a bottom pairing defenseman. He wouldn't necessarily bring that long-term stability to the position, but it is certainly something to think about when we're looking at alternatives for Chychrun. But let's move on now to a third player that I don't really think many people are connecting to the Sabres, but we thought there could be a fit. Money-wise, there could be a little bit of a concern, but Tyler Bertuzzi of the Detroit Red Wings. Now, it would be very interesting and probably unlikely that Detroit trades within the division, but I think there's a fit here.
Yeah, I mean, you do look at Detroit, and they're right in the playoff mix just like us, kind of competing for that spot. With that being said, the Sabres have a ton of cap room, so money should not be an issue at this deadline whatsoever. I've brought that up multiple times in the past. Me and you both complain. They're paying guys that are never going to see the ice, like Ben Bishop, Johnny Boychuk. There's no excuse with money with this team. A guy like Tyler Bertuzzi is very gifted offensively. He always destroys the Sabres. So a lot of people were saying with this one too, the biggest reward for getting Bertuzzi is that he wouldn't kill us every time we play the Red Wings. So we'll see if this move happens. I highly doubt it, but I think it would benefit the Sabres a ton. I know they need a little more help on the defensive side, but I think the forward market's a little more deep, and a guy like Tyler Bertuzzi would really help the team.
Absolutely, he would bring that Just the grit that you mentioned, the physicality as well. He would be a little more feisty than what we got right now, because we don't want Rasmus Dahlin killing everyone every shift and having him go to the penalty box. Why not get another man like Bertuzzi? We all know he's an agitator. He does that for his living, and he can score plenty of goals. Now, isn't it interesting that you're hearing guys in Detroit like Bertuzzi and Dylan Larkin potentially being traded away, despite that team being in a playoff position?
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation there. Dylan Larkin's completely going under the radar, but there have been a lot of trade talks with him, which I find surprising. But like I said in the stream the other day, Dylan Larkin is a fantastic player, super fast, definitely has a knack for goal scoring, and if he finds himself in a cup contender, I think he could really put a team over that line.
Absolutely, he would, and I don't think he would be getting traded to Buffalo. We don't really need another center there, but Bertuzzi, a little more likely. If you were to say 1% for Dylan Larkin, let's give Bertuzzi maybe 5 or 10%.
Yeah, I'll definitely take that 10%.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's continue on now and talk about another agitator. You'll notice that with guys on our list: speedy, young, agitating forwards. Max Domi is the next one off on that list. He's from Chicago, or he is playing in Chicago right now with Patty Kane, who we thought may have been getting traded to Buffalo before the season. That doesn't look like it's going to happen. Domi, though, he definitely will be getting traded, I think, before the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago's an absolute dumpster fire over there, and it looks like they're going to be trying to move a lot of their assets. Max Domi, definitely not, as much of a goal scorer as the other people we've mentioned so far in this video. But I mean, it seems the Sabres constantly get out hit in their games. They're not a very physical team. And, when guys like Paterka and Quinn are on the ice, they can't even hang on to the puck for 5 seconds without getting trampled over. This is where a guy like Max Domi could come into the lineup, really, be kind of the bully on the team, stand up for guys, which, the Sabres are kind of missing that right now. I thought Labushkin was going to be kind of that guy, the guy to lay some hits on, be the aggressor. He hasn't really been at all. So getting a guy like Max Domi, I think could definitely help this team out. Again, another guy that's been rumored to the Sabres for the last 3 years. Do I think it happens at the deadline? Probably not, but it's definitely an option, and kind of like a lower tier trade, not the big fish per se.
No, it's not, but I think he fits the bill. Even though he's listed as a center, he can play on the wing. He has been playing his best season in probably 4 years since his final year in Montreal. He's got 15 goals already, so we know he can score. He finally found a scoring touch back in expanded ice time with Chicago, and he's been one of their better forwards on a absolutely dumpster fire team. They brought him into Chicago knowing that he'd probably get traded at the deadline, and he is a rental, which I know the Sabres are not too keen on acquiring guys like that, but I absolutely do think that his grit and his energy would be an added bonus to this team. Now, the final guy here we're going to talk about is another forward that's been linked to the Sabres. Obviously, he's another physical, gritty guy, would bring a lot of leadership, and that is Boone Jenner. Boone! I can hear a lot of Sabres fans and Keeping Center ringing that chant out. And he's actually having a good year with another dumpster fire team in the Columbus Blue Jackets. 17 goals in 46 games and 32 points as well in that stretch. And I really do think that Jenner would be a welcomed addition, especially even in that center role as the third line center, but even on the wing too, if you thought.
Yeah, Boone Jenner's definitely a unique player. If you would add him to the Sabres roster, the Sabres like to play on the rush. They like to play fast, but they've struggled in deep, and they really don't get any opportunities right in front of the net. A guy like Boone Jenner can generate that kind of offense for a team. He could get into the corners, get gritty, bring the puck in front of the net. A perfect acquisition, in my opinion. I think getting Boone Jenner would be absolutely huge for this team. Hopefully it does happen, but again, there's been mixed rumors, right? We hear Kevyn Adams is completely fine with this team, doesn't want to rush anything, doesn't want to be the next Tim Murray. Then we've also heard he's starting to kind of turn the page and see this team is just 1 or 2 pieces away from being a true playoff contender. So we'll see what he decides to do. But I think all of the guys we listed off today would be great acquisitions. Some more likely than others, but we'll see what Kevyn Adams decides to do.
Yes, we shall see. Kevyn Adams has got a big week coming up. The trade deadline actually is in 2 weeks. It will be on March 10th at 3 p.m., I believe, Eastern Standard Time. So, Kevyn Adams, you got some time to think about it, buddy. We've given you some names. Your scouting team will give you some names as well. Make a trade. Let's make that go viral. That hashtag, make a trade.
Hashtag make a trade. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it just has to happen, right? We need just a little bit of a spark, just a little bit of a spark to get this team over that bump. And I've seen a lot of panic in the last few days, with the Sabres. It seems like the world's falling apart. Right now, at the time of this recording, we're 4 points out of a playoff spot with not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 games in hand. There's no need to panic, but there definitely is a need for some new players. And with the current defensive core you have now, it's not going to go well, even if you do make the playoffs. So definitely have to make some moves, but do not panic.
Absolutely. Do not panic, but make a move. We want something, even if it's as small as not small. Luke Schenn is a big guy, but from Luke Schenn to Jacob Chychrun to Timo Meier, Kevyn Adams has got plenty of options. And folks, you can bring this debate down to the comment section right now. Let us know your thoughts about who the Sabres should trade for, if they should trade for anybody at all, and what guys would you like to see go the other way. Thank you so much, folks, for watching. I was Don. This was Cal. Make sure to subscribe here on the YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and join the Discord. All of those links are down in the description down below. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you.